So, in module 4, we're talking about well being. That word gets thrown around a lot. We hear wellness, well being. Um, and like I said earlier, it's not so much that need to soak in the tub or take a walk in nature or take a deep breath, but it is all those things. But I think well being now, and especially since we've made it through the pandemic and as we're all getting older, maybe some of us are approaching midlife. There are some really deep-seated issues and things that are surfacing as we're getting older. We're having memories about things we're going through. Ted was going through a divorce. It was super painful for him. He did not want to get divorced. He did not want to be away from his family and away from his little boy. He had made this rash decision because his wife needed space. He made this rash decision to go all the way to England, to London. I think he probably regretted it in the beginning. Um, but so we're talking about well-being on a really delicate level, a deep level, not surface. And what I mean by delicate is that it could all fall apart, pretty rapidly. Ted is only human. We see him have panic attacks. There's Rebecca helping him. We see him have panic attacks. The whole world finds out he has panic attacks. We learn later um, he had found his father, spoiler, uh, who had committed suicide. I mean, there's like this horrible, dark side to Ted, and maybe that is kind of this shadow side, this stuff he's repressing or suppressing that may be coming out in others around him because he's trying to be kind. He's trying to be kind all the time. Um, but he does have this churning underneath, and he functions during his personal life crisis. High pressure job. We think he probably doesn't care that much about the money. He doesn't personally even care all that much about winning. We think, the players do, the other coaches do, the owner does. Um, but he has a high pressure, high profile job. He's going through this divorce that's painful and being separated from his family. He's having these panic attacks. He doesn't know why. He doesn't like counselors because his marriage counselor didn't do a very good job and ended up stealing his wife, so he's got a real bias against counselors and those things. He thinks that he should just be able to talk to his friends or go drink at the bar or whatever to get through it. And it's not that simple. And so what I'm trying to say is Ted's only human. I'm only human. You're only human. And I often feel like teachers ask so much of their students and want their students to be perfect because the teachers themselves expect themselves to be perfect. They expect themselves, they're really hard on themselves. And so, therefore, they become hard on everybody else around them. And so, when you can give yourself a break, when you can love yourself, which may not mean eat a lot of sugar, it's doing something healthy for you. But that healthy thing that you're doing for yourself is maybe you're not going to get stuff done today that were on your to-do list. And that's okay. Cut yourself a break. When you can give yourself a break, you can give your students a break. Then they feel more connected to you because they know you're going through stuff and they're going through stuff and you're working together. I have a class, it's a capstone class that I really only have one hard deadline at the end of the semester. We're going to be presenting to our client on this day, and this is a hard deadline. If you're not there that day, you're losing lots of points. Um, all the other deadlines are more flexible. And you would think, because I have deadlines, and often I don't even remember what they are, but they're listed. You would think because I'm kind of lax about it that all of the student teams would be lax about it, but they're not. They still try to hit that deadline that I'm not even aware when it is. They want to reach deadlines. They want to work as a team. They want to impress you, the teacher, and they want to do a good job. And so, um, being a little bit more open is not going to let the world fall apart. Being easier on yourself, being easier on them, the world's not going to fall apart. In fact, it may be the thing that keeps the world together. And when you fail, and you're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, we have to be a goldfish. I hate to tell Ted, Ted says what goldfish only have 10-second memories or something. I think it's 9 seconds. I hate to tell them that humans actually have a shorter attention span than a goldfish now. It's like 8 seconds. So, so when we're being a goldfish, our attention span's actually longer. But just to be able to say, okay, I made a mistake, I failed, I'm going to pick myself up, dust myself off, and I'm going to try not to remember it. We're not repressing necessarily. We're just saying it's not going to do me any good to sit here and dwell on this thing I did or didn't do right. And I need to just be okay with letting it go. And it's the same with your students are going to make mistakes. Do you need to remind them over and over and over and over again that they messed up? No. We've all had family members that do that. We definitely don't need to do that for the students. And then, I'm in a position where um, at the end of my semester, sometimes all of my courses change. Sometimes all of my students change. And every 3 or 4 years, a whole group of students leaves, and just like you. And so there's this great begin again. I get to start over every semester. I get to start over. Every time I teach that class again, I get to start over. You do too. Try something new. If that didn't work, we'll make a note that didn't work. Let's do something else. And then, get some fresh faces and say, well, I tried to have that relationship with that one student and we didn't get very far, but I get to try again. I get to try to have a better, more positive, more meaningful student teacher relationship this time. We get to forgive ourselves and forgive our students and go on. So Ted eventually seeks help even though he doesn't want to. I'm the world's worst. I really don't like to ask for help. I love to help other people. I really don't like to ask for help, but we always need help. And I'm beginning to learn that others want to help, and it helps my relationship with my coworkers, my relationship with my students when I can say, "Hey, I don't remember what this is. Can you look this up for me?" I do this in my classroom sometimes. I remember this thing, but can you Google it for me? Tell me what it is. And that kind of vulnerability of I don't know it all and I'm asking the students for help, it really helps them, I think. Trust me, that I'm not just giving them a bunch of baloney and pretending I'm something I'm not. Um, and so to seek help, you have to be vulnerable and you have to know whether the help you're getting is good help. Ted was truly truly blessed to have a great counselor in Dr. Sharon, I think. I'm like blanking on her name, but I think it's Dr. Sharon. Um, really blessed. But even so, we got to see that Dr. Sharon has her own counselor. You know, she had a bike wreck. She had things going wrong in her life, and he had to help her. She didn't really want to have a relationship with him either, and they ended up kind of getting forced into this relationship that turned into a good client doctor professional relationship. And she helped him and she helped the team. He had to actually sit back and watch as she was able to come in and help the players and the other coaches before he would trust her enough. And he actually had to hit bottom before he would trust her enough to ask for help. And maybe we have to do that too, but I hope not. I hope that we don't have to hit bottom before we can say, hey, this is not working for me. I need some help. I remember when I first became really clear, it became really clear to me that I was experiencing burnout. I went to my program coordinator and I said, "Look, I'm having trouble. I'm struggling. I really need some of my classes to be online. That would really help me." And he did. He was able to move at least a couple of my classes or give me classes that were just online only. And that really helped, give me some space. I could work from home, um, make videos, all these things I was needing to do as I was sitting back and figuring out my life. One of the things that I highly recommend is journaling. Every morning I get up and journal. Sometimes it ends up being kind of like a prayer journal, but just to be able to say, this happened. I wanted to do this. I didn't get to do this. I tried this. This didn't work. Kind of regurgitating everything that's in your head onto a piece of paper, get it out of your head. It's very helpful. And it's kind of like counseling in its own way. Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, talks about morning pages. Write this 3 morning pages, dump everything out. You've got to do that to clear your channel before you can tap into the creativity again. And so, before every morning when you wake up, get it all out. Maybe every night before you go to bed, get it all out so you sleep better. That's probably what I ought to do. And then, keep a dream journal. All these things can be very helpful in helping us with our well-being. But what I'm mainly suggesting is be self-aware, have relationships with coworkers that are close enough where they can say, "Hey, are you okay? Seems like you're not okay. Are you okay?" And then you can do that for them. And then find those resources. I bet your school has resources you have not taken advantage of. Your health insurance probably has resources you've not taken advantage of. Um, Sometimes you can't find those things because they were short-handed right now, but there are groups, teachers groups or other kinds of groups where you can meet with like-minded people. I'm hoping that this class will actually create a Lasso Classo kind of group where people can talk to one another and say what works and what doesn't work. Hey, I tried this thing on kindness and it really worked, some kind of support group. We need to be able to reach out. I found this in online, but it's from a book called Teaching for Transformation. I can't remember, it might have been an article instead of a book, but it said sometimes to ask the right challenging question at the right moment is the most important thing we can do. At other times, it is essential to validate a student's thoughts or feelings. And at yet another time, we need to say, this is up to you now, because in the end, it is the student who chooses to transform. And so ask these challenging questions of your students. But then there are times when you have to back off and you have to mirror them, say, how are you feeling? Seems like you're upset. Let's talk about it. I'm maybe not the greatest at doing that in my personal relationships, but I'm trying to do better. I want to do better. I'm a problem fixer, and that's not good oftentimes. People don't want their problems fixed. They just want you to listen. I need to be a better listener. Sometimes I'm better than others. And then sometimes you have to say, there's nothing I can do to help you. But I believe that you're going to do well. And I believe that you can have resilience. And I believe in this, but it's up to you to make that transformation. You can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. And you have to accept it. You have to let it go, and not feel responsible for everybody. And in my experience, there are students that carry the baggage of what they've been told about themselves. And that becomes resistance. And that has a lot to do with whether they have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. Carol Dweck has a great book called Growth Mindset that you may want to pick up. But I had one particular student who had had brain surgery, and her doctors told her she was going to have memory issues. And so she thought she had memory issues. And it gave her really high anxiety. And I mean, she would get really upset, come to my office crying, and complain about, I'm not going to be able to remember this. We got a test coming up. I'm not going to be able to remember that. I have memory issues. What am I going to do? And I stopped her and I said, wait a minute. When I'm in class and I'm talking about something, you're the one who raises your hand and corrects me. You say, but I thought, chapters 10 said this, So I don't buy this fact that you have memory problems. I get that you may have some struggles and things may not be exactly right, but I think your memory is just fine. And so we call that examining the evidence. So you've got students who've been told, for example, that their their art is just crap or their music's crap and they're crap and 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 that's really truly heartbreaking and unfortunate that parents or adults, other teachers, whatever, treat students this way, treat children this way. And so when they come in and maybe they're super duper shy, I have a coworker who's really good at picking the shy student and really focusing on getting them to come out of that shell. And they do. And then they come alive and they bloom. That's a gift to be able to see that potential and to help them. But it's all about whether they have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And I don't think we can't force students to have growth mindsets, but we can encourage them to believe in the possibility of a growth mindset. You know, we can tell them that fixed mindsets not the way. We to keep an open mind to believe that they can grow. Now that said, I'm not saying, Clifton Strengths talks about we need to focus on those top 5 strengths we have and totally ignore the bottom 5 weaknesses. We're not necessarily saying you're bad at math. I believe you can be great at math. Keep working, 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 and maybe you'll be a math teacher someday. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the growth mindset would say you aren't great at math today. You can improve by working at it. But if it's not your strength, you don't have to go down that road. Do what you have to do to pass your general math classes, and then you go on and work with words or art or whatever else that you are where you do have your strengths, that kind of thing. um, and so well-being for ourselves, well-being for our students is about um, being able to believe we can transform, helping each other transform, helping each other grow, helping everybody focus on their strengths, being kind to them, getting them to look at gratitude, be grateful for things, do those morning pages, go seek help when you need it, be vulnerable, all of these great things that we've been talking about in this course that we maybe didn't learn from Ted Lasso, but we were inspired to remember because of Ted Lasso, the catharsis that we have. If you have catharsis while watching Ted Lasso, I recommend that you think about the particular scenes that cause you to cry, and unpack those. I'm considering doing a longer course just about maybe not teaching in Ted Lasso, but about Ted Lasso and the things that we can learn from it and the character developments. I, I don't know that I'll follow through, but I hope I do. So that may be coming at some point. But I hope you've enjoyed this course as we've talked about purpose, hope, kindness, and well being. And we've talked about some of the things we've learned at Ted Lasso. And I just want to thank you for being here. And again, there are some resources under Module 4 that I hope you take advantage of. Please connect with me at Amy L. Hitt on Instagram, LinkedIn, and I'm trying TikTok. We'll see how that goes. But reach out, and we may be forming some type of community, so I will keep you posted about that. Anyway, thank you again. This mini course was brought to you by Lawson Rhodes Publishing Company, and I look forward to seeing you down the road. And good luck. I wish you well with your teaching and your well-being and your students' well-being.